Hello, students. I hope that all of you are hale and hearty. Stay at home, stay safe. Today you will learn the first lesson of your supplementary reader, A Triumph of Surgery. It is written by James Herriot, who is a veterinary doctor. First of all, let us know the meaning of triumph. Triumph means victory or success, and surgery means treatment or a place where sick are treated. This story is a real life episode. We can find such people around us in our society who takes more care, who loves much, even pamper their children. And we know that needless love, care, pampering, it causes dangerous situation in one's life. Mr. Harriet has humorously presented a rich lady, Mrs. Pomfrey, in the story, who loves her dog too much. The dog's only problem was that he was very greedy. He wanted to eat all those things which are harmful to him, and Mrs. Pomfrey's blind love could not stop it. She could give all what he liked, and the dog consumed whenever or whatever he liked. And this resulted in a bad condition. The dog became so fat, hugely fat, just like a saucer having 4 forks. He became lazy, he became inactive, and he developed the bout of vomiting and weakness with rheumy eyes. Mr. Harriet had warned her so many times to cut off the sweet items from his diet, but Mrs. Pomfrey's love could not stop it, and this resulted a very dangerous situation in Tricky's life. Mr. Harriet, when he saw the dog, he could understand what the problem was. It was not only the problem of Tricky, but it was also the problem of Mrs. Pomfrey, her blind love. And he became sure that very soon he would be called by Mrs. Pomfrey because dog's condition was not good. And it so happened as he thought. Very soon Mrs. Pomfrey called him for dog's treatment. And Mr. Harriet had made a firm line, that he would treat the dog not at home, but he would take him in his surgery where he would treat the dog. And then he made a firm line before Mrs. Pomfrey that he would take the dog for a fortnight. When Mrs. Pomfrey came to know that her dog Tricky would be there in surgery for 15 days, she became almost unconscious because she thought that if the dog would not see, it would die. The writer has presented the departing scene very humorously, presenting that all the members in the family, they were full of tears. All the luxury things like ball for lunch, breakfast, dinner, the clothes for all times, the beds, cushions, everything were put in the car. And at last, with full of tears, the dog was taken from the home. Mr. Harriet was a very experienced doctor. He was very tactful. He brought that dog in his surgery and put it on the carpet. Other dogs in the surgery, they came near the dog and they sniffed him and thought that it was uninteresting object as the dog was so inactive, it shows no action. The doctor gave no medicine, no food for 2 days, only plenty of water. And on the end of the second day, the dog felt ease. It started whimpering, and on the third day, it started running with the other dogs. It started following them in the garden. The other dogs had their meals, and when they had finished, Tricky went to the ball and started licking up. Extra ball was provided for him for food. He felt he was feeling hungry. Then Tricky started showing progress. He really found the real joy in his life. He discovered the new way of life where he could struggle, he could run, he could work. It was a very good time for him. He started showing progress. Gradually, he became all right. And when Mrs. Pomfrey, as she was so anxious, she rang up so many times to Mr. Harriet inquired about his health. Mr. Harriet, he was a man full of common sense. He simply said that the dog was showing progress. And this word really touched Mrs. Pomfrey. She started sending fresh eggs, wine, brandy for Tricky's health. But Mr. Harriet knew that these items were not essential for Tricky. And he didn't send back to these items to Mrs. Pomfrey just because he knew that her emotions would not tolerate it. He took the midway of all these two. He started consuming all these items with his fellow workers. And then it became a very happy time for the veterinary doctor with workers as they started taking all these in his breakfast, lunch and dinner. It became a ceremonial occasion in the surgery. The doctor humorously says that it was a very temptation to keep that dog Tricky permanently as a guest, because due to that Tricky only they could get those items and could make their ceremonial occasions. But the doctor was loyal as he has promised that for 15 days he would treat the dog. The dog now became well. He rang up Mrs. Pomfrey, giving the message to receive the dog. As soon as Mrs. Pomfrey got this message, she came in a big car to collect her dog. Dr. Mr. Harriet, he himself took the dog in his lap and brought near Mrs. Pomfrey. As soon as the dog saw Mrs. Pomfrey, his mistress, he became overjoyed and he ran from his lap and jumped into her lap, his mistress' lap. Mrs. Pomfrey was very happy. Her joys knew no bounds. Her eyes were full of tears to see her dog back. And with full of tears, she expressed her gratitude to the doctor, Mr. Harriet, and she said that it was the triumph of surgery. This is the story, A Triumph of Surgery. You will go through the text and you will find the story very humorous. The questions I will give you, you will write these questions with the help of the text in your copy and we will discuss it in the link which I will send. First question is, what was Tricky's problem? Second question is, why did the doctor make a firm line to bring Tricky in the surgery for treatment? Third question is, why did Mr. Harriet say it was a ceremonial occasion? Number 4, why did Mr. Harriet say that it was a temptation to keep Tricky as the permanent guest? And next question, describe the departing scene in your own words. Last question is long answer type question. You will write it into 80 words. What is the significance of the title Triumph of Surgery? You will write all these questions, the answers to all these questions, and we will discuss in the link which I will send. Whenever or whatever you get any problem, you will connect me. Thank you.